Okay, so the way I see social tracking is that classrooms are grouped by ability levels. So then you have one teacher who has all of the more advanced kids or above grade level kids in her classroom, whereas another group classroom might have the middle grouping, and then one class might have like the behavior problems or lower academic. It also could look like in a classroom where they're not grouped by ability, but within the classroom structure. So not within the grade level, but within the classroom structure, they are grouped by ability.
Is basically taking the kids based off of their social class and putting them in different classrooms accordingly.
So personally, when I was a classroom teacher, I did not do any social class tracking. I have observed in a 4th grade classroom where there is social class tracking, and it's again within the classroom, not the grade level. But I've seen it as a benefit. So before, I'm going to use math as an example, before a math unit, they're all given a pre-assessment. Then those students are grouped into groups based on that pre-assessment, so that if they say in fractions, some groups they don't really understand fractions. That doesn't necessarily mean they're always going to be in that lower tiered group. It may mean that when they do place value, they really understand place value, so they don't have to stay in that group. It's based on their pre-assessment, which I think again is just meeting the new students where they're at and addressing those individual needs. Same thing with guided reading. I've seen where even in a school where some students who perform at a really low level are pulled out independently and go to it's called a RISE group, and within that group there's 4 different stations they rotate through. Based on that research, that students, or a lot of those students, have increased reading levels by like 2 or 3 times. So I do see a benefit of that individual instruction or small group instruction really focusing on where they are, and again the outcome is that they end up reading on grade level or even comprehend the material they're reading on grade level.
In high school, I was taking honors pre-cal, and I was like right on the borderline for maybe like knocking it down a notch. And I talked with my guidance counselor and my pre-algebra teacher, and pre-calculus teacher, and we decided that it would be good for me to take CP trig instead of honors trig, just because math isn't my strongest thing, and like it was fine, and I learned everything that I needed to at the level that I needed to, and I would have really struggled if I would have been in that higher class.
Some examples. So my placement now, I have a couple of kids that are separated based off of their ability. So my teacher put them in the same math group, but I think that that's kind of hard for them because they can't really use each other as resources. They are both struggling. And then I have another student that was placed separately in a desk because of some social problems he might have. So those are some areas where I've seen the tracking, I guess, individually in my classroom.
So I think that having like above average, average, and like CP classes, those are good because the people that need to be challenged a little bit more can be challenged a little bit more, and the people that maybe need to go at like a slower pace can go at that slower pace.
Okay, so I'm going to answer this as like yes and no. I think definitely if you have students that are way below and way above, they shouldn't necessarily be in the same class together because they might have different ability levels, but at the same time, you don't want to put all the kids together that aren't at the same level as other kids, because then they might start to feel badly about themselves. The kids notice, so they'll start to notice that I'm in the dumb class, or I'm in the class where, we're all great. So like I think mixing the kids, they can use each other as resources, they can learn from each other. So I think making sure that you have like all different kinds of kids in the same classroom might be good to learn off of each other.
Actually, I do think so. I see that when you have one classroom filled with the low, the middle, and the high level learners, that not everybody's needs are met equally. And I feel like the students that are higher level learners are almost bored or sitting around waiting for the lower level learners to catch up to where they are. And so I think when you differentiate according to ability, I think everybody's needs are met better and everybody is more engaged and focused in the learning process.
I think based on the resources that schools have now, I don't think that it's really plausible for that to be fairly implemented. I think there's a lot of room for um, what would end up being a large amount of inequality between students who are performing well and students who aren't. I don't think maybe they wouldn't be necessarily given enough time or enough attention, and I don't see the need for it, and I think it can lead to like a lot of kind of discriminatory perpetuating issues like that. So yeah.
I personally don't. I don't like the idea of placing students according to their level. I believe that students learn better. All students, if they're of a, like say they're of a lower IQ, well, they learn better in classes with people of a higher IQ or a higher ability. People of a higher ability learn humility and all kinds of other character issues from people of a lower ability. So I don't like placing children according to ability.
I think that students with social class tracking could benefit because in a way it could stack the deck and ensure success of an entire class. It could also work against some other students that weren't given that same opportunity in that same classroom.
I think kids might suffer if they're separated. I think that, I mean, again, like I said, they know when they're being placed in a certain group, so maybe trying to mix them so they can learn off of each other, and as a teacher that would be really hard, but I think it would benefit the kids if they were all kind of mixed in together.
So basically we kind of realized that most of the people we interviewed were mostly focused on the tracking aspect and not so much the social class consequences or the results of that ability tracking. So personally, I agree with some aspects of the tracking idea. I think that within the classroom, like a lot of the people I interviewed said, it's a great thing to kind of group the students who might be, at a higher level together so you can work at their level and challenge them and their individual needs. But I think that it's nice for them to be all together in one room to give them a sense of diversity and help each other with different issues, because every child has their strengths and every child has their weaknesses, and basically just working together to learn from one another would be great.
I think the diversity part is a huge role that should take place in a classroom. And when you have all of that diversity, it can really help challenge all students, whether it be from socially or academically.